Yesterday's aftershocks caused more damage for Christchurch. Roads were ruptured, buildings demolished and water and waste systems damaged. It's obvious the latest quakes will be a setback, undoing some of the work already made on the rebuilding process. But John Key says this will in no way weaken the government's long-term commitment to get the city back on its feet. He joins me now live. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning, Samantha.
Let's begin with Christchurch. Have any areas been declared beyond repair and must be abandoned?
Well, that is a possibility, but not necessarily so much as a result of what happened yesterday. That's the process that the Earthquake Recovery Minister has been going through with the engineers, Tonkin and Taylor and others. And we're getting closer to having much better information that we will be able to share with the people of Christchurch. We know that they are very anxious to have that information. We also know as a result of the two earthquakes yesterday, the 5.5 and the 6, that there's been further subsidence in certain parts of the eastern suburbs. So, look, there will be some areas that can't be built on, and we do want to share that information as quickly as we can. But truthfully, probably the bulk of that damage occurred in the first earthquake that took place on the 22nd of February.
Prime Minister, given that there may be large areas of Christchurch that might have to be abandoned, have you spoken to your officials and discussed the option of encouraging people to leave Canterbury on a permanent basis?
No, and we wouldn't do that. I mean, if there was a situation, and we think that will be the case, that there'll be certain parts of Christchurch that can't be built on, discrete suburbs or discrete areas. There's plenty of land in Christchurch, plenty of very stable land, so you have got some parts which have been very prone to liquefaction where there's likely to be substantial subsidence, and they may be either at sea level or below, and there's therefore very prone to flooding risk. But I don't think that presents a long-term problem for the future of Christchurch. It presents an issue for those specific areas.
Well, how are you going to motivate people to stay in Christchurch then when these aftershocks keep coming? People are getting fed up. Is there anything like maybe tax breaks in the pipeline?
Yeah. Well, I think you make the right point in so much that clearly there was extra damage yesterday, and we've seen that on display. I mean, other buildings have fallen down, you know, the issues of homes without power and the likes. But ultimately the damage at the moment probably is to the confidence of the people of Christchurch who want this sort of nightmare to end, and for there to be on a much firmer footing and for things to be going back to normality. So we acknowledge that. But look, I think for a lot of people, they are very frustrated by this process and are really absolutely sick of it. But on the other side of the coin, their long-term home is Christchurch. It's a wonderful part of New Zealand, and we're just going through some acts of nature at the moment that are beyond everybody's control. So I think people will stay in Christchurch. The government's totally committed to rebuilding the infrastructure and the resources there. Is there
any help for families that do want to move away but may not be in a financial situation to do so?
Well, again, we haven't looked at that, but that would depend on the circumstances of the family in question, you know, what assets they own there, what their employment is like. We would not actively encourage that. I mean, obviously it's a free choice of anybody, and some people have left Christchurch and won't return. But we don't think it's a situation where people should give up hope in Christchurch. We think it's a wonderful place to live. As I say, it's subject to these acts of nature, and it's deeply frustrating. And like everyone, we want that to stop. But I haven't given up on hope in Christchurch, and I certainly won't be.
OK, Prime Minister, let's move on to the Sky City story now. They want to crack on with a $350 million development, but only if you change the law and let them have more pokies. How long have you been able to buy law changes in New Zealand?
Well, it's not a matter of buying law changes. We change the law on a regular basis in New Zealand to support economic activity or to reflect the new circumstances. In the case of Sky City, they've got a site-specific piece of legislation, so their licence matures in 2021. If they are going to make a $350 million investment in the convention centre, and I certainly hope that they do, because it'll create 1,000 jobs in the construction, 800 jobs.
But Prime Minister, your critics are saying that you're asking problem gamblers and their families to pay for this because it's just increasing. We're talking more pokies, more gaming tables.
Yeah, I don't necessarily accept that. I mean, if you look at the harm effect of those who have a problem with gambling, it's about 0.4%. So yes, there is a problem. We need to accept that. It's small, actually, relative, for instance, to alcohol, where it runs, you know, arguably as high as 17.5%. But if you are going to have gaming machines and pokie machines, then probably the best place to have them is in casinos. The harm minimisation is at its greatest there, as opposed to the proliferation in places like South Auckland in pubs where they are preying on low socioeconomic people. The case of Sky City, they want to build an international facility, clubs and bars and restaurants, and their target market actually for any extension of their gaming is largely actually the international market, particularly China.
Yesterday, Prime Minister, you didn't know if Sky City had made donations to the National Party. Can you give us an answer today?
No, I wouldn't have a clue. It's not my job. I mean, that's part of the National Party President's responsibility. There's quite a clear demarcation between, those who, ask for donations or raise funds. My only role ever is occasionally from time to time I go to fundraisers, as does Phil Goff for the Labour Party. But outside of that, that's a matter for the President. But look, we have very clear rules in New Zealand. It's quite transparent. If Sky City have made a donation, it'll be on our website or on the donations website, and it's there for everybody to see. But I think it's important to understand, actually, I approached Sky City as the Minister of Tourism. I approached a number of entities actually around New Zealand, said, look, we're interested in building a convention centre. In the case of Sky City, a proven operator with the convention centre already in Auckland, said, why don't you come back to us with a proposal? But these are a number of issues that we can see that might make the deal work. So it wasn't a matter of Sky City trying to buy us off. It was completely the other way around. I wanted a facility in Auckland. I think it's the right one that we're building.
Okay, Prime Minister, thanks for clarifying that. We'll have to leave it there.
Okay, Samantha, no problems.
Prime Minister John Key speaking from Parliament this morning.